Berlin police forced their way into an occupied building today. It comes a day after at least 60 officers were injured during clashes with squatters resisting a fire safety inspection. NTD's David English has the latest on this.
Police in Berlin used battering rams and chainsaws on Thursday to force their way into a house occupied by squatters. Occupants and supporters responded by throwing fireworks and smoke bombs from the windows and roof above. The police encountered resistance inside the building too.
Fire extinguishers were set off, which led to respiratory issues for 8 colleagues. Fireworks were also set off in very tight areas, which led to blast trauma in 13 colleagues. We hope that there will be no more injuries.
The building has long been slated for eviction, but this police operation is only about a mandatory fire inspection. On Wednesday, squatters threw projectiles and about 60 officers were injured. They also erected burning barricades to fend off police. Berlin security authorities say the squat at Riga Straussen 94 is a major centre for the city's far-left extremist scene. The house was first squatted in 1990, the year of German reunification, when the run-down housing of former East Berlin attracted flocks of young people to the city. Residents have clung to the building despite the best efforts of a succession of owners and city governments. The clashes come as city authorities grapple with a chronic shortage of affordable housing. David English, NTD News.
European Union diplomats say EU governments have agreed to add the United States to the list of countries from which they allow non-essential travel. Ambassadors from the EU's 27 member countries approved the addition of the United States at a meeting on Wednesday, with the change to take effect in the coming days. Albania, Lebanon, North Macedonia, Serbia and Taiwan will be added, while Chinese administrative regions Hong Kong and Macau will also be included. EU countries are recommended to gradually lift travel restrictions for the 8 countries already on the list: Australia, Israel, Japan, New Zealand, Rwanda, Singapore, South Korea and Thailand. And in other news, Chinese COVID vaccines are the most widely used in the world, over 900 million in China alone. But the European Medicines Agency hasn't approved them, so they won't get you into France. NTD's Eddie Aiken has more.
If you're vaccinated, France welcomes you, but only if you got one of the 4 EU-approved vaccines: Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Moderna or Johnson & Johnson. Updated regulations say Chinese-made vaccines don't make the cut. On top of that, France categorises China as an orange country, so travel restrictions apply. The rules say that anyone coming from China must meet certain criteria. That means having an urgent reason to visit the country and filling out travel forms. Visitors from China are also subject to 7 days self-isolation after their arrival in France. China's embassy in France confirmed the details with Radio Free Asia, explaining that the rule comes from the European Union. Beijing says it will apply reciprocal sanctions in return, meaning China will decline entry to French citizens if they're vaccinated with doses made outside China. The embassy released a notice about the move on Monday, accusing France's rules of obvious political manipulation. As of now, Chinese Sinovac and Sinopharm vaccines are not approved by the European Medicines Agency. That is the EU's department in charge of assessing medical products. Chinese vaccines are currently the most used worldwide, with 900 million doses already used in China alone. That's as controversy continues over their safety and doubts about the authenticity of Chinese data rise. Eddie Aiken, NTD News.
Belgium and the Czech Republic are calling out the Chinese regime. Ministers in both countries have passed bills saying what China is doing to Uyghurs indicates a serious risk of genocide. Uyghurs are an ethnic minority group in China. They're mostly concentrated in the country's northwest. An international tribunal says Beijing has been harvesting organs from this group. And human rights organizations say about 1 million Uyghurs are now held in concentration camps. In a statement, a Belgian lawmaker said there can be no business as usual with China while the Uyghur prison camps stay open, adding that Belgium may be a small country, but we can send a clear message to the world that human rights standards should be upheld universally for all people everywhere. And in other news, 500 Hong Kong police officers sifted through reporters' computers and notebooks at pro-democracy paper Apple Daily today. This is the first time authorities have cited media articles as potentially violating the national security law. Flora Bradley-Watson brings us this report.
In an early morning raid involving 500 officers, Hong Kong National Security Police arrested 5 directors of the pro-democracy Apple Daily newspaper. Thursday's raid is the latest blow to media tycoon Jimmy Lai, who owns the tabloid and is a staunch Beijing critic. Officers entered the tabloid with a warrant to seize journalistic materials. They were later seen sitting at computers in the newsroom and sifting through reporters' notebooks. It's the first time authorities have cited media articles as potentially violating the national security law. The legislation, which came in last year, is not retrospective, but can use actions from before its implementation as evidence. Senior Superintendent Lee Kwai-wah said the tabloid published dozens of reports dating back to 2019 that incited foreign countries to impose sanctions. Lai has been in detention since December and was denied bail under the security law. He is serving several sentences for taking part in unauthorized rallies in 2019 and faces allegations of national security offences. Under that same law, Lai's assets have also been frozen.
Disneyland Paris finally reopened today, and although Mickey Mouse won't be hugging anyone for a while, visitors were at the park in large numbers. NTD's Eddie Aitken brings us this report.
The Disneyland Paris theme park reopened to visitors on Thursday after being shuttered for nearly 8 months during the pandemic. Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse and Goofy were on hand as usual for selfies with visitors, but they were keeping their distance. According to the park's revised safety measures, close interactions, including hugs, will be temporarily suspended. Visitors over the age of 6 are also required to wear masks. Nevertheless, visitors streaming through the gates at opening time were excited to be there.
Je suis émue. Je crois que j'ai attendu ça toute ma vie en fait. Ça fait des mois et des mois que c'est fermé, mais c'est juste magnifique en fait.
Inside the park, which is about 25 miles east of Paris, the Twirling Teacups ride was in action again, and people were thronging around Sleeping Beauty's castle. Disneyland Paris' CEO said the reopening was a watershed moment for the tourism and hospitality sector in France as it emerges from the pandemic. Eddie Aitken, NTD News.
And finally, at some point in our lives, most of us have considered a career change. But a French engineering teacher took this to new heights when the European Space Agency launched its new recruitment campaign. NTD's Elle Rhodes has this story.
A 38-year-old French engineering teacher is updating his CV. He's about to complete his job application for a new career, astronaut.
Why do I want to become an astronaut? For many reasons. First of all, for a personal reason, to be able to go to space, which is a dream for many human beings from a young age. And now is an opportunity for me to make it happen. So to be able to go to space and to be able to help humanity through the research being done in space, and especially in the International Space Station.
This year, the European Space Agency launched its first initiative in 11 years to openly recruit new astronauts for its manned flight program. The teacher has never been a test pilot or served in the military, but he's still eligible with his master's degree. He's also confident enough to pass the medical test. He says he wants to take the risk because the next recruitment round could be years away.
No matter the result, if I don't try it, I will regret it for the rest of my life. And that would be at least 40 years of regret. So now I'm doing it.
In his office, he has a collection of books about space engineer and airline pilot Thomas Pesquet, who became the first French commander of the International Space Station this year.
Yes, I think Thomas Pesquet's career influenced me, and all the books I have read about him, whether the more serious ones or the funnier ones. There are things that make me think, I want to do this, it's cool.
The engineering teacher has 6 rounds of selection interviews ahead of him. He'll find out if he's got the job in October. Earl Rhodes, NTD News.
If you are watching on Sky Channel 190 or Freeview 271, we have some news for you. From Monday, 21st of June, NTD UK News will broadcast at 9 p.m. That's the news for today, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Stuart Lees.